Man, that thing's in there. Wow.
I heard you over the cage that day when it popped a couple times.
Yeah.
You know?
What's that?
Get your attention when it does that.
Oh yeah. I think it's just you let it cool a little bit. It's literally just twisting the
Yeah.
bolt.
Yeah, because the bolt got hot too.
All right, so I've been having an extremely tough time trying to get these bolts out of here. Keep in mind, these bolts were most likely placed inside this undercarriage in 1959 and have never been removed since. I have been able to get 3 out of the 5 bolts out through methods of welding bolts and washers onto the broken bolts and backing them out. However, at this point, I have 2 remaining that I cannot seem to get out. I've spent about 2 hours trying on both of them, can't get it out. So I'm gonna try this product out. I was looking around online, and it's called CRC Freeze Off Super Penetrant. I have no affiliation with this company or nothing. I just am looking for a different alternative because every time I weld it on, it just ends up shearing off the weld when I rotate it. I guess some people might question whether my welds are good or not, but I feel like the welds are definitely sufficient for what I'm doing. I've also tried torching, heating, so my only other option now is to try to cool it. So, according to the product, every however many degrees you cool said metal, it shrinks it by a very, very small amount. Like we're talking a micron. However, this penetrant only needs a micron for it to be able to penetrate around it. So we're going to take an initial temperature reading on the hardware, and then I'm going to spray this. Now the can says to spray it for 10 to 20 seconds, but it says the longer you spray, the colder the material will get. So I'm prepared to waste this whole can if I really need to. But we're going to try this, see what happens, and if it works, great. If it doesn't work, all right, well, at least we tried out a new product to see, you know, maybe it'll have a better use for something else in the future. So let me get the temperature gun. We'll get an initial reading. We'll spray this for a while, get another reading. We'll let it sit for 1 to 2 minutes to allow the penetrant to work its magic, and then we'll try to extract the bolts. All right, so this is one of the bolts that's broken right here. It's broken clean off with the face. I have tried to drill it out. I've tried using Easy Out. I've tried welding stuff to it. Just won't come off. So we shine our laser at it. It's reading 45 degrees. I don't know if you guys can see that with the camera. 45 degrees. Now, let's see what happens when we spray the freeze off. All right, so I don't know the exact time there, but that was definitely at least between 20 and 30 seconds. Let's get a reading on it. And we are now down to 34.4 degrees. So it definitely cooled it from the 45 degrees. We can see the temperature slowly starting to climb back up now. But directions say to let it sit now for a while, and then we'll try to get it off. So that was like 1 minute and 10 seconds. And we did see it get down to about 28 degrees. So it is true, the longer you hold it there, the colder it gets. All right, so the Easy Out method is not working. If I go much further, I'm probably gonna break this Easy Out off. So I'm gonna come over here to this one. I'm gonna weld the washer onto it, then weld the nut to the washer and see if we can back that baby out. right, now we're gonna let that sit there and cool. I will admit that's one thing I have not really been doing. I get really impatient and I don't wait for that to cool, and then I start wrenching on it. And when you put 2 feet of leverage on a bolt like that that's welded on in a 1/4 inch cross section, it's a lot of stress, and when the material's still warm it kind of just tears. So we'll let that cool and then we'll try to extract it. All right, so just to give you guys a little background where those broken bolts are and what they're for. This is the cross tube that's on the dozer, and here's the rear cross tube. That assembly slides on these shafts and then bolts to these flanges. It took me about a month to get that dozer frame off of these shafts. This one specifically, it was completely seized into. The rear one, there was movement, but this one, for some reason, it was really stuck in there. So while we're letting that track, those bolts cool, I'm gonna see if I can't clean up some of the surface and start prepping this so when we do get those bolts out, we can reassemble this machine and we don't have to wait very much longer. All right, well, it helps if you charge the battery. Now, if you notice, I'm using this disc. It's not a grinding disc. It's not a cutting disc. It's like a, I don't even know what you call it. It's almost like a fiber. It's like a rough. And you can see, it's polishing that up really nicely. Yeah, that's really nice. Unfortunately, since I already used this one, kind of the end of it's not all there, so I can't really get in close, but I do have a brand new one of them right here. This is what they look like out of the package. That should get me closer. Honestly, I just buy these at Walmart. They're Black & Decker brand. They don't have to be anything special. But as you can see, they work really well. Look at that. That's a huge difference. And it's smooth again. It's not rough. I mean, yes, there's some pitting in the surface from the years of rust, but it's a smooth surface now. It's not like it's gonna catch you and tear your skin or anything. That should make for way better installation. Now it's all cleaned up. All right, so now we're back over here. We're gonna see if this bolt's gonna come out now. It feels like it's wiggling some, but I could be wrong. Oh. Oh. We were doing so well. We had the bolt moving. Now, as I had mentioned earlier, yesterday I had attempted to drill through it and use an easy out extractor. So now, right where my weld stopped, it actually sheared the bolt off. So it looks like I'm gonna have to do this process again. However, because this sheared off now like this, the inside of this is hollow. That means I can spray more of this spray down the center, and it actually can go to the back of the cavity and work its way forward out around all of the threads. I did try to lubricate it with some of this once I had noticed that it was starting to move back and forth, but I'm gonna throw some more on there, and we may even be able to get it with the easy out now once this stuff gets in there. So far, really loving this stuff. I mean, I had no luck doing anything yesterday, and I did this for what, 30 seconds, and it worked. So let's get some more in there. Let's let it soak, and we'll come back and try to use an easy out extractor. Now, one thing to note, I did get some of the overspray on my hands. It says that, you know, obviously it can irritate your skin, whatever. But you would think that if it can cool the metal, that your fingers would be getting cooler, and honestly, it doesn't feel any different to me. Like when you spray brake clean on your hands, you can instantly feel your fingers getting cold. This doesn't feel that way. If anything, it almost kind of feels warm. Maybe like an icy hot feeling. But regardless, let's let that sit and we'll come back to it in a little bit. All right, just so you guys can all see, all of these bolts, nuts, washers that are in this pail were all failed attempts at trying to get the hardware out of this noser track assembly. We have officially gotten all of the bolts out in both locations. All four of these holes have been retapped and ready to go. Over here, 3 out of the 4 have been. This hole here was originally cut out with a torch by somebody in the past. The hole is a completely different size. So I still got to figure out what I'm going to do there. I may drill it out larger, press fit a piece of metal in, weld it, and then drill and tap it. But I guess we'll see once I figure out that idea. But at least we got all the hardware out, and just wanted to show you guys, you just got to stick with it. 2 of the toughest bolts that I couldn't get out, I ended up just drilling and retapping, and they cleaned right up. But I was able to get 3 out of the 5 out using the welding method. All right, well, we're back here working on this, and as you guys saw, we got them out with welded on bolts, nuts, washers. We had to drill and tap 2 of them, but there's a final hole right here, which in its previous life, somebody must have torched out because the hole's a completely different shape. So, what I got today is a mag drill. We are going to set up the mag drill. For those of you that don't know, this magnetizes onto a metal surface, locks it in when you turn on the power, and once we find center of this hole, we'll be able to plunge these annular bits through it. Now, these things basically essentially create a plug, if that makes any sense, versus your typical drill bit where it would be drilling through the center. This is just an alignment. this will drill out a plug. We want to do that because since that hole is so odd shaped or not uniform, we don't want it catching a standard drill bit and just breaking it, and then us trying to have to get the broken drill bit out as well. So what we're going to do is we're basically going to measure from the distance to the center of this hole to this hole and center of this hole to this hole. I'm going to put some blue painter's tape across this, and then I'll mark it out to find the center. Then from the center we can use our alignment tool on the bit to know when we're on the perfect spot to drill this hole here. We're going to drill it out to 1 inch with that larger bit that I showed. And here's some metal plugs that come out of a like a press machine when they're punching holes, or a punch machine that punches holes in steel. I got these that I'm going to put back in there. I'm going to weld them in, and then we have the proper drill bit size for us to plunge another hole and then tap it with our 5/8 11 tap. Now the nice thing about having the mag drill is once I have it set up and find the center of this hole, it's not going to move. It's going to magnetize right to the surface. It is not going to move. So I can run the 1 inch hole in here. I can weld this in, and then I can plunge another hole in there, and I don't have to refine my center. Now, if the drill is in the way to weld this plug in, all right, maybe we'll have to move it, but the hopes is that it won't be. And yeah, so let's get started. Alright, so here's all that remains. It turns out that deep inside there was actually still threads. They're all now gone, but all that remains is a nice clean hole. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the TIG welder. We're gonna TIG weld these 3 plugs together. Now I could MIG weld these, but I'd probably have to chamfer them just because if I weld on the outside, then I'm gonna have to spend a lot of time grinding them down, so they're still within the 1 inch tolerance zone for me to put them in there. So if I TIG weld them, I can fusion weld them together, kind of just melt them together along the edges. It shouldn't increase the size of them any. And then once I got all 3 of them together, I can do a test fit, and then I'll probably MIG weld them into the actual flange of the dozer undercarriage. All right, we'll let that cool for a second, and then we'll test fit it. So you're never gonna be able to get this all the way through because the gases in there need a place to go without way to exit, they're just going to keep blowing through the molten puddle. So that's why there's a little dot there and a little dot there. But at this point, we should be able to lower this in. I just don't know if my hand's gonna be able to hold it. There we go. Clean that up. Now we gotta get the mag drift set up. See if it'll hold. Alright, this was able to plunge a perfect hole down through there. Welds held up. Everything drilled really nicely. This thing's awesome. All right, to give you guys an idea of how hard that was, I'm actually sweating. And it can't be that warm in here. Maybe 50. But I think we got her. A lot of metal shavings on there. But, ooh. The end result, some nice threads in there. Sweet. Well, this about wraps up the removing of the stubborn bolts and using the different techniques to get them out. This project here has taken a lot longer than it should have, but those 5 broken bolts that were in there, you saw there was a variety of attempts taken, welding nuts, welding washers, different things. And, you know, we were able to get 3 out of the 5 broken ones out that way. Unfortunately, 2 of them we had to drill and tap. Got those done. And then, as you just saw, we had to run a mag drill out a larger size, plug it, and then drill and tap it again. So I'm really happy with how it turned out. Really glad that it could work, and I didn't have to, you know, take it to somebody else to have like a machine shop do it, because probably would have been pretty expensive, or they would have essentially been doing the same thing I was doing with a mag drill. So, but overall, at this point, all 8 holes have threads in them, and it'll be ready to go back on the machine here. So, but thanks again for watching. Leave some comments down below if you have any different techniques that I didn't try. I know I tried a couple different penetrants. The Super Penetrant by CRC. I tried some PB Blaster. I tried some WD-40. But let me know if there's any techniques that I missed that work better for you. But just to give you a reminder, these bolts have been in this machine since 1959 when it was manufactured. So I know a lot of guys online show you like, oh, here's how to get out a rusted stud, or here's how to get this or this out, but it's not quite the same thing as a bolt that's been in there for, you know, 60 years. So just keep that in mind. These ones are definitely really, really stubborn. But thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.